You know that person who laughs at everything, who finds the joke in the breakdown? Yeah, they've been through hell. And I don't mean a bad breakup or a failed exam. I mean the kind of experiences that rewire your brain at a fundamental level, the kind that teach you survival before they teach you safety. Here's what happens. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Most people, instant rage. But you're already wondering if they're rushing to the hospital, if they just got fired, if they're holding on by a thread. Because when you've survived your own storms, other people's rain just hits different. Your brain doesn't work like everyone else's anymore. And that's not damage, that's training. You've been trained by necessity to become this hyper-aware, hyper-adapted version of yourself that's still learning how to exist in a world where the danger is finally gone. But here's the strange part. You've developed this immunity to chaos, not to pain, but to being destroyed by it. You know now, deep in your bones, that survival isn't just possible, it's inevitable. You've done it before, you'll do it again. And this is where it gets weird. You'd think all that pain would make you bitter, right? Closed off, cynical. But it's the opposite. You've become aggressively empathetic. You can spot pain in someone from across the room because you speak that language fluently. That shift in their tone, you caught it. That forced smile, you're already planning how to check in later without making it awkward. You don't just hear silence, you feel the texture of it, whether it's heavy or tired or hiding something. Most people walk into a room and see furniture. You walk in and see emotional temperature. And here's something beautiful. Psychologist Richard Tedeschi found that about half to two-thirds of trauma survivors don't just bounce back, they bounce forward. Post-traumatic growth, he calls it. Your relationships get deeper, your priorities get clearer, and those ordinary moments, they wreck you in the best way. You'll cry at a sunset and you won't even apologize for it. But then, there's the part nobody warns you about. Your threat detection system never fully shuts off. You need to sit facing the door at restaurants. You have 17 backup plans for a coffee date. That's not paranoia. That's a nervous system that learned the hard way that safety isn't guaranteed. It's earned or lost. And this will definitely mess with you. You downplay everything. Oh, wasn't that bad? Other people have it worse. I'm fine, really. It's like you're allergic to being seen as a victim. You survived by telling yourself you were okay, so admitting you're struggling, that feels like failure. The irony is brutal. Let's talk about love for a second. You're either incredibly loyal or incredibly distant, sometimes both at once, which confuses everyone, including you. You'll show up at 3 a.m. without question, but ask you to admit you need something, suddenly you're busy, unavailable, fine on your own. Why? Because closeness has come with consequences before. Your nervous system doesn't relax when someone gets close, it braces. You want connection desperately, but you're terrified of depending on anyone. So you learn to need nobody, which sounds strong until you realize it's just another flavor of lonely. But then, something remarkable happens. You become exceptional at adapting. New job? Sure. Moving cities? Easy. Life falling apart on a Tuesday? You've seen worse. And the humor, God, the humor. Dark, sharp, relentless. It's not insensitivity, it's power. When you can laugh at your own suffering, it loses some of its grip. Every joke is a rebellion against the things that tried to break you. Here's another contradiction. You'll micromanage the smallest details of your life while being weirdly zen about massive uncertainty. Why? Because you've learned the big stuff is often beyond your control, but the little stuff? That you can manage. So yes, you'll have an existential crisis over which mug to use while staying calm about career chaos. You're a walking paradox, tough but tender, guarded but generous, hopeful but realistic. You've learned that two opposing truths can exist at the same time. Life can be beautiful and brutal, often in the same breath. But underneath all of this, there's a grief most people never see. Not the grief of losing someone, the grief of losing yourself. You grieve the version of you who trusted easily, who laughed without scanning the room first, who didn't rehearse every conversation or brace for danger in every silence. You miss a version of yourself you barely remember, a softness you didn't get to keep, a lightness you lost too soon. This grief doesn't break you, it shapes you. It makes you quieter, more intentional. It turns you into someone who values peace because you know what chaos costs. Someone who cherishes safe people because unsafe ones taught you how much damage is possible. And maybe that's the real psychology here. You didn't just survive, you became someone rare, not because life was gentle, but because you learned to navigate storms that would have sunk others. A lighthouse doesn't shine because it's perfect. It shines because it remembers the darkness.